Hello, friend, and welcome. This is let's see, what is it? Day 7 of radiation treatment. And Xavier took me today. We had kind of an interesting conversation on the way there. We always have interesting conversations, it's the nature of the beast. But this one, for some reason, I started to get cracked up because we were getting pretty close to the hospital, and he was talking about well, it was just we'll leave that part out for the moment. But he said the sentence that just really struck me funny. You can't move Harriet by yourself. It takes two people. I just started laughing. You can't move Harriet by yourself. It takes two people. Okay, so it sounds like it's talking about a person. It's not. And I started laughing because it's such a perfect example of why context is everything. Because if you take one little verse out of the scripture and you assume you know what it means, but you take it out of the place where it lives and try to make it mean something, it may not mean what you think it means. It's like you can't move Harriet by yourself, it takes two doesn't mean what you think it means in this particular case. In this particular case, the car is a Bentley. It's an antique. It's a beautiful old car. She's very heavy and it's not possible to, and she doesn't run. So you can't get her from where she is in the building to the new place that you want her in the building without it taking two people to do the job. Okay, so it sounds like you're talking about somebody, and it sounds like you're doing a little bit of fat shaming. This person requires more than one person to move her. Well, we're talking about a car. That's why I was just cracking up because it's context is everything. Don't take a verse out of the scriptures and wave it like a flag over your head. Oh, I know what this means. Well, it may not mean what you think it means. When I was in Greek class, I loved Greek. I had this kind of love hate relationship with Greek class because um, I found it I found it really embarrassing to try to pronounce things in a language that I didn't know or understand out loud in front of my classmates, knowing that I was going to get it wrong, and that I found that really difficult. Plus, it was my first. I'm monolingual, so it was my first experience. Well, I mean, I took French and I took Spanish in school, but it hardly counts. Um, it was my first experience with a biblical language in terms of getting the framework in place. I mean, I've been using a biblical language app for many years to try to understand what individual words mean. But when it comes to understanding verbs or understanding aorist or, all of the different things words can be, I mean, like a verb in Greek translates to a sentence in and of itself. There is so much information in a Greek verb. It's just mind blowing. And then you add on other parts of the sentence, and that can change things quite a bit. So it's just really an amazing puzzle. Absolutely just challenging beyond belief. I mean, it's not an easy. I found it very difficult. I was the only one in the room that didn't know multiple languages. So that made it harder for me because everybody else had a language framework from which to work. One gentleman spoke Spanish, one spoke German, one spoke Vietnamese, and Xavier audited the class. And last we counted, he has either fluent or educated in about 7 languages. So, yeah, um, just really, really fascinating. So, one of the things I loved about that class is the teacher would be teaching through the material, right? And it would be no big deal. And then she'd say, and she would do something that was completely kind of beside the topic, and it would be um, just something that would rock my world. So every time I knew that every time I went to class, there I was going to learn something that was going to really change the way I looked at scripture. And it was so interesting because, I know I'm already, my tangents have tangents. Yeah, because I went in believing that I understood what scripture said. And I understood the American English version of what scripture said. But when you It's like a very thin ribbon. And then when you learn the biblical languages, suddenly what this very thin ribbon becomes so complex and so deep. And there's so much more to it. And it's just so cool. So let me give you the example that came to mind when I was thinking about this morning. So the scripture is Matthew 8:14. When Jesus came into Peter's house, he saw Peter's mother-in-law lying in bed with a fever. He touched her hand, and the fever left her, and she got up and began to wait on them. So Dr. Heisey actually mentioned that's how it's translated. That's how it's been translated for a very long time. But the reality is, it doesn't say she got up and waited on them. It doesn't say that the person who just got healed was waiting on them. There actually isn't in that text a word that says who waited on who. And so she said it could have been that he healed her and then he waited on them. You know, we have other examples of Jesus waiting on them. We have example of Jesus washing their feet. We have examples in the Old Testament about how God is exchanging our ashes for beauty, and just we have these kind of things that feel very out of character for the patriarchal culture of the time. So it's translated, she got up and served them, because of patriarchy, because that's the culture, that's the assumption that we make. But when you look at the way the text, when you look at the way the verse is written, it doesn't actually say she got up and served them. It could have been that Jesus got up and served them. So you know, somebody who's going to wrap a cloth around himself and wash his disciples' feet is somebody who could get up and serve them. You know, I mean, Jesus had the humility and the security and the lack of ego. This is something that Jesus could have done, you know, and just think about how countercultural that is. But it's lost in translation because of the context, because the assumption is made that because she's a woman, she's going to be serving them. I just think it's such fascinating stuff. Such fascinating stuff. So yeah, I had to laugh at this morning when Xavier said, "You can't move Harriet by yourself. It takes two." And I just was like, you know, this is a perfect example of why context matters so much, because, you know, when you look at that sentence on the face of it, "You can't move Harriet by yourself. It takes two." That sounds like something different than what it is. And in reality, Harriet is a beautiful old Bentley. And my husband's a pipe organ builder, but in recent years, he's done some work as a Rolls-Royce and now Bentley mechanic. So yeah, his skills are many and marvelous. So let's see. Day 7 out of 20 of radiation. I have a little bit of swelling. I'm not in any pain. Did I tell you that I got another tattoo? I don't know if you can see it. Oh, there's one in the middle. So I have a total of 7 now, because I took the sticker off because it was turning pink under the sticker, and I wanted to make sure that the cream that they give you, that medicated cream, was getting to that area under the sticker so that I wouldn't have this weird spot that was unmedicated. So yeah, I got another tattoo so they can still line me up and I don't have to wear that sticker. I'm still wearing one right here, and this one is, they put a little box on you here, and that's for when your chest raises because you take a breath. That little box is, I don't know. It's got a little measuring thing in there somehow. So yeah, cool stuff. So yeah, saw the radiation oncologist today. Very quickly, everything seems to be good. I have some swelling, a little, not so bad today, but the end of last week it was more pronounced. Little spot on the back of my shoulder there, where they're hitting those lymph nodes, that was swelling a little bit. So it looked like a little bit of a lump there. all very normal, all very normal stuff. Um, yeah, seems to be just kind of no big deal now. I mean, I guess by the time you've done something 7 times, it doesn't feel like it's any big deal. I realize it's different for your mileage may vary, but if you're here listening to this because you're in the radiation process, day 7 is not a big deal. So, um, yeah, I know the best is yet to come. We don't know what the future holds, so we'll just continue to stay in a place of hope and peaceful expectation that it could go better than expected. And I think over and over and over again in this journey, and I know I probably say this each time, but when I expect it to be painful and awful, it's usually not as bad as I expect. So last week I was dealing with some exhaustion. I would get to a certain point in the day and just kind of clunk. And yesterday afternoon, I did not, when I got home, I just didn't feel like doing anything. So I really took it easy yesterday afternoon. And I think that's a hard thing for me because I like to be on the move. I like to go. I like to get stuff done. I like to, I don't like looking at things that need to be done on my desk. I'd like to have that cleared. And that's just not where we are right now. And so yesterday afternoon, when I didn't get anything done, I just was really struggling with that. So that is one thing that I will continue to keep trying to have grace with myself about that. You know, the tiredness kicks in at a certain point in the day. Mornings feel fine. I feel great in the morning. Obviously I'm at the hospital well, I mean, not obviously, because some people do have their radiation in the afternoon. I mean, the schedule couldn't work if somebody didn't take the afternoon shift, right? Um, but yeah, it was a very busy day in the department. There were a lot of people around. Sometimes it's very quiet when I'm there. Sometimes there's a lot of people around. So, yeah, doing great, doing great. And remember, you can't move Harriet by yourself. It takes two. Context, context. When it comes to anything biblical, the context matters. It really does matter. So let's remember to the next time you're tempted to grab that favorite verse that you keep in the hip pocket, take it out and just read the ones around it. And I will mention this because this has been so fascinating. There is an app for your phone, and let me look it up here. Let me look what it's called. BLB. I don't know what BLB. It's blue. I don't know. Can you see this? It looks like this. Well, that looks different than. Okay. Anyway, it's got a little Bible. BLB. I don't even know what that means. Let me see if I can find. No, this is really. Here we go. Let's look up what this is, because it's really an interesting resource. Let's see what that is. Blue Letter Bible. That's what it is. It's an app. Blue Letter Bible, in-depth study Bible. And it makes it possible. This is where I go when I want to check out the Greek, the Hebrew. There's some Aramaic in there. Just really cool thing. I would note that it does have a bias. It is Professor Heisey would say, know your study tools and know that the bias that they come with, because there is no such thing in the study of the text, because the text has been translated by really highly educated and highly skilled people over history again and again and again, in different languages, in different, contexts and all. These are people who are really working hard and who are highly educated to do what they do. There is no such thing as an interpreter who does not come with a bias. So even the study tools, sometimes you'll see that there's some stuff in there that's like, you might want to have a couple of options when it comes to understanding biblical Greek definitions. So yeah, anyway, that was kind of two for the price of one. But yeah, remember, you can't move Harriet by yourself. It takes two. Context, context is everything. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. And if you are in the flow of the radiation journey yourself, stay strong, keep heart, keep heart. Yeah, don't lose your faith. This too shall pass. How's that for a cliche for your day? Send in so much love your way. Thanks for watching.